Okay, welcome back to some time with Suresh, Paraj, and myself, Kirby Repko. Today, Suresh is going to talk about some pretty cool stuff related to cognitive search. So, Suresh, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey everyone. Hey, thanks, Kirby. Um, so this is important for any dynamic website, right? Like search. So that is very crucial or critical. If you say you have a business, you better have some search, right? A company like Google, right? So they started as a search company. Look at where they are today, right? So it is such a powerful features for any e-commerce or retail stores or anybody who has a dynamic website and want to kind of provide this capability to search within their website, right? So that is one such service that is available. Yeah, so we are going to talk about the cognitive search in Azure, right? Like I mentioned, the search is very powerful feature, and any dynamic website need to have this feature, right? So I work with a lot of retail customers. So all retail customers have this search, one form or another. But this all search starts with at the base of the search is Lucene. Okay, so Lucene is a implementation and specification, and any search engine works on top of this Lucene. Okay, so you talk about Elasticsearch. So under the hood, guess what? It is Lucene. Okay, so the same thing goes with Azure Cognitive Search as well. Okay, um, so Lucene, and it has a good kind of implementation. So some other question is like, hey, what is this differentiation of Azure Cognitive Search that you're talking about compared to others, right? So there is a good comparison table comparing to the other search solutions. Microsoft Search, basically this is the uh, for all the 365 authenticated users can leverage this Microsoft search, and they can search over SharePoint and whatnot, um, right? And then the Bing search, right? So especially if you're looking at the public sites, that's when you hook it up with the Bing web search APIs and show it on your website. And then there is also database search. It is very powerful, right? So it has these full text search capabilities available, and it even supports, right? Yeah, uh, indexing or whatever, right? But in comparison to cognitive search, which is supports like multiple languages, like 56 languages it supports. In addition to full text search, it supports like auto correction of misspelled words, synonyms, suggestions, scoring controls, facets, and custom tokenization, right? So if your industry have your own way of searching, you can definitely leverage with custom tokenization. And then there are some dedicated search solutions that are available. So coming to cognitive search, you can even work with unstructured data like images using Azure Cognitive Services API, using like vision API, so that it can extract the information out of the images and store it in a textual format, which you can ingest and create indexes, and you can search on those images, and you can bring up those images as well, right? So there are good number of use cases when you're thinking about cognitive search. Hope that answered a question, why cognitive search compared to others?
That's actually really helpful. That helped me. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then diving into some of the way. So I think there are some good amount of demo available in the Azure Cognitive Search. So one such demo that I have is to, create indexes using standard analyzer. So analyzer is like language related. So if you are using a different language, then you have to have language analyzer, right? And then there is a custom analyzer as well, like a keyword specific to your business, right? That you can implement as well. And then here it is, this is the document that you can load. It's an important thing to note. Um, so there is a pull and push mechanism with cognitive search. Okay, so the pull is Azure data services like Azure SQL DB, Cosmos DB. You can directly or even uh, with Azure Blob Storage, you can connect directly with those by providing the credentials, and you can import it into the cognitive search as is. So it's like low code, no code, or no, yeah, right? So what it will do is it will create the index for you. It will define those index, and it will import the data as well, right? And then you can run a search, and then it will bring up the content for you based on your search string, right? So you can load it in multiple. It supports different formats. So the format that I'm showing here is a JSON format where I'm uploading a bunch of documents. So here, okay. And then you can also look at, hey, what is the effect? What is the how do I debug, right? My search, how do I debug? So you can use analyze text to see, to kind of get into how your search result are indexed, whether it is working the way you need or not, right? So that's where the analyze text is going to help you. And these are like get protocols with HTTP GET. You can search the entire documents. Let's see if you have something there. See, I got the result, and this is 200 OK. I can save the response. So I'm just using Postman tool. This is like available. You can go to postman.com, download it, and it is available. And then maybe I'll share it at the end of the video, or maybe later on, the GitHub URL where you can go and get these demo content. Okay. As you can see, right, so it comes up with the result. The results have their details as well. And then you can do like prefix search or infix search, and then wildcard search, regex search, partial term search, and doing URL encoding, right? So that it can escape. Okay.
Hey, Suresh, quick question. What you
Yes.
had mentioned that you could use something like SQL Server or Azure SQL as
Mhm.
as a source, right? When you
Yep.
index that,
Mhm.
do you define it at the column level, table level, or like all the above? Do you say which columns in a table? How does that work? Number one.
Okay. Great question. Yes. So it works at the table level.
Okay,
So
interesting.
yes,
So
go
you'd
ahead.
say the entire table. And then would it bring in all of that data, or just like would it bring in all the table data, so that would then be in the cognitive search so that it could be searched on, and there would be no load put on your original source, the SQL DB, because it's already been indexed and put into cognitive search.
That is correct.
Okay.
So it works offline. You can schedule it. Um, so yes, and then to your question, you can choose to bring the column you want from those tables. Uh, and once the table is brought, and you can choose to specify. You can edit it. You can edit which column needs to be indexed, which column needs to be retrievable,
That's right.
which
Okay.
column needs to be filterable,
Facetable,
uh,
all the
and,
above. Okay.
and searchable as well,
Got
right?
it.
So typically the rule of thumb is you use the uh, data type with integer or real, right? So integer and all of those is used towards filterable. So you won't use it with the searchable, right? So
Got it.
those are some of the things. In string, typically it's searchable,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, good question. Did I answer your question or is there
Yes,
anything there?
absolutely.
Good, cool. All right. So one thing though is like, yeah, you need to, so I defined it at this level, my key API key. So you need to provision Azure Cognitive Search, first of all, right? And then you copy those keys and put it in here. And that's when, it will start working. Okay. So you need to have that defined. So I defined it at this level. So every request, delete, put, or post, or get is going to leverage that. Okay, um, and so cognitive search have multiple API version. So make sure. I mean, you can use the latest one. So by default, you get all of the features. But if it is something that you need a particular API, that you can also choose to specify it here. Okay. So okay, let's go ahead and see. Okay, so I'm deleting an index. So now I'm going to go ahead and create index. So to your question, Kirby, right? We can define these fields. So if you are starting from scratch,
Got
you
it.
want to define manually. So this is how it brings in,
Got
right?
it.
So
Field by
you're going to
column by column.
save. Yep, yep, that's what, right? So these are like different columns. Longer text is another column. It is of type string. So if you can see, retrievable and searchable, right? Because being a string column,
Yeah.
so I get a retrievable, searchable is good, not necessarily sortable. And then this is like a test string, for example, right? So this is string again. Same thing holds good. And this is ID, right? So you want to kind of uniquely identify a bunch of, yep. So the search at the end of the day is going to return document, right? Or documents. So you want to kind of uniquely identify this
Yeah.
document. That's why we have this ID.
And when you create the index, is that create it and then also retrieve the data, or is there a subsequent step that loads the data?
Good question. So there is a subsequent step called indexer.
Got
So
it.
you got to run the indexer to load the document.
Got
So
it.
once the indexer is finished, that means the indexing is
Perfect.
completed. Then
Okay.
you can
That
start.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. Cool, right? So yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to create that index, and I'm using a standard analyzer. Let's see. Yep, it go through fine, and I got a response. Um, right. So the name of the index is like patterns dashes dot idx. So that will be my index name. Okay. So this is the response I got. So there are like rich features like scoring profiles. If you want to make your search very relevant, you boost it, right, with that one. And
Oh,
suggesters, like if you're doing like an autocomplete, you can have a column as suggester coming from there. And then you can use the tokenizer, like, custom tokenizer. We looked at like keyword search tokenizer that you can do that. So yeah, I think there is similarity algorithm. So it is using like BM25 similarity algorithm. So there is a great amount of features here, right? So I'm not going to execute the custom analyzer because these are like you can do one or the other. So I'm going to go and load that. So, okay, so let's see if I have any document there on this one, right? So hopefully not. Let's see. I get, okay. So no document, right? Because I have not loaded the documents. So now I'm going to load the documents as described in my index, right? So what is the ID? What is the test string? And what is the longest string, right? Those values I defined for each of the document, and I have about 19 documents, okay? So, so also you have to notice that when you use the post and when you create the index, the URL is going to be different, right? It's not the same URL that you're going to use. So if you look at the way we created the index, you can see this URL change, right? So it's using this indexes slash the index name here, right? Whereas when I'm doing the post, it is using docs slash index, right? And it is using the index name because once I created the index, it is going to be because you are going to search your document on a particular index. Okay, so that's what it is. So keep that in mind. So let's go. Yes, any question
No,
there?
no, no. That makes sense. Thanks.
Cool. So I'm going to send, okay, so which means I got 200 okay. So it created these documents for me. So I have 19 of them. So let's analyze with the standard Lucene analyzer. Yes, so I'm searching on a term like MSFT slash SQL dot 2019 slash Wayne ampersand Java dash ext. So see how we tokenize those words, right? It's split into all lowercase, right? MSFT, then SQL, 2019, Win, and Java and ext, right? So see here, it is not coming up with one single word, though you kind of use dash to combine it, but that's how this works, right? So you may need to use custom tokenizer in that case to keep it intact in your search result. Does that make sense?
Okay, so that's configurable.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use the get and then trying to pull up the documents. Yes, so you see the document count is 19 of them, and these are the documents that are part of the indexes. So this is like I queried everything because you can see the search string is star,
Got it.
so it gave me everything
Got it.
document. And in this particular one, I'm going to search on the infix and prefix search. So this is searching on, like you can see the question mark and then 980 question mark
Okay.
2 and anything after that. Let's see if I have luck. Anyway, yeah, I'm lucky. See, 98072, right? Anything after 980. And then there is a one letter replacement. Here it is 7. Okay. And the second one, if you see here, it is 5. 7 2, it is 5 2. Okay. So seems like it brought me what I was looking for.
Got it. And
Yeah.
is that regex expressions that's in the header there?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is, oh yeah, here, yes, that is regex. So it's like typical like patterns, like, hey, how do you kind of represent this
Yeah. Can you click on the headers and the on the right? Because
on the right?
is that
Yes.
where the
Yeah.
search would be? Okay. It doesn't.
It's here in the
It's up
URL
there.
itself.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. 9802. Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so similarly you can do for wildcard search, numeric values and things of that nature, and then regex patterns as well. Then partial terms, and then it is like encoding, right? Yeah, so I think that's all I wanted to
That's cool.
share.
Is
Yeah.
there? Is it easy to describe how it is charged? Are you being charged for the storage and then also the retrieval, like you create the index, right? That's pretty straightforward. But the actual indexer, I think that's what you called it, that goes out and crawls the data and pulls it in.
Yeah, so good question. So yeah, so there is a charge on this, kind of because it comprises this storing of this data and then indexing of the data. As you can see here, so there are different tiers on which the pricing happens. So S1 is the recommended one for if you're using anything with production, and that has a search unit of 25 gig, the storage unit. And you may need like a 3 partition and the available and like 2 replicas at 3.9 SLAs, right? Then you can also have 3 partitions with 2 replicas with 6 number of search units, right? So that's a good example to go through and then find out. So that is something you can
And are the
forward to.
partitions at that point for kind of scale out? Is that for
Mhm.
helps performance? It's not. I mean, I'm sure it can be for high availability too, but it's really for the scale out performance when they talk about partitions.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
So
thanks.
you can, for the performance. Sometimes with the fuzzy search, um, it's going to like especially when you start doing these high fi things like fuzzy search and all these things. Remember, you will incur a little bit higher cost, okay, because it has to search on multiple indexes, shards and things like that. And the performance when you use with fuzzy search matching may be a little bit slower compared to the regular search,
Got it.
right? And it might incur a little bit more cost as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that is excellent to hear. Suresh, thanks for
Sure.
that overview and diving into the pricing too. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Thanks. We'll talk to you
Great
next time.
question. Yeah. Sounds great.
Okay. Thanks, Suresh. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.